under the law. Justice, Jamaica demand. Right to life, right to liberty. Justice, justice for all. Justice, under the law. Justice, the people demand. Right to life and security. Oh, what a joy. Oh, what a peace. How great this country could be. Respecting your rights, respecting human rights. What a wonderful nation this could be. How come we are one in a Jamaica? Make it a better place for the boys and girls. Created equal by the creator. For equal rights and opportunities. No to unlawful detention and police brutalization. Class, gender, race or religion. We not tolerate discrimination. Justice, justice for all. Justice under the law. Justice, Jamaica demand. Right to life, right to liberty. Justice, justice for all. Justice under the law. Justice, the people demand. Right to life and security. Oh, what a joy. Oh, what a peace. How great this country could be. Respecting your rights.
Welcome to Let's Talk Justice. It is Tuesday, 1 p.m. on the bridge, so you know we are here as Jamaicans for Justice. I am Jade Williams, the Policy and Advocacy Specialist. And again, I am alone this week. Mikkel is still off doing work for JFJ abroad. So I'm holding down the fort again this week. So this week's topic is on divorce, maintenance, and its context to those persons who might be experiencing gender-based violence. So we do have attorney at law Michelle Thomas that will be joining us a little later in the episode to discuss these issues and be reminded. This is a good episode for you all to be reminded that this is a participatory show. You can call in on the studio line at 676-4996, or you can send us a WhatsApp message at 2397583 with your questions for Ms. Thomas. I will be asking some of them, but I'm sure you'll have some for yourself. So listen out for that part of the program. All right, so we're just going to get into it. First things first is our Human Rights Minute of the week. I'm only going to highlight two things, but I will say it's been a packed couple of days in terms of human rights issues. First thing that I'm going to highlight is our Constitutional Reform Committee. There was an article in Sunday's Gleaner written by Jeanette Caldo, who was a guest on our show last week and is also one of JFJ's partners, executive director at the Jamaica Accountability Meetup portal. And in that article, she did highlight some concerning things that we at JFJ have also raised some concerns about. And the main point is the public participation process. And it appears to us at JFJ and to Ms. Calder should have said in her article that there are some decisions that are being made that will be communicated to us as a nation. That is the implication. So we encourage our listeners to go ahead and read that article. It's in this Sunday's Gleaner that had just passed. It is very informative and it is asking some very pertinent questions as we embark on what is an extensive constitutional reform process that we hope to have just as extensive input in. The next story I'm going to highlight is on prison capacity. So we saw a number of articles in Sunday's Gleaner as well that spoke to this. We saw an article where they spoke about the rehabilitation process in the prison and how beneficial that is to inmates, something that Jamaicans for Justice has been championing and hoping that would be extended by the government. So what we got out of those articles, some good things, for example, State Minister of National Security Xavier Main saying that is the intention of the government to focus on amendments to related acts that would ensure rehabilitation processes for inmates. But in those articles, we also saw other concerns that we've highlighted in the past. For example, the condition of the prison infrastructure that inmates are expected to be in, the lack of opportunities for inmates who have been rehabilitated and are released. How are they able to secure employment? So we saw some of those issues highlighted in the paper on Sunday, and we hope that in this reform process, not only are we looking at the reform inside of the facilities, but how will the inmates fare once it is that they are out. So we did see Carla Galata making some comments on that. And it is pertinent to have this discussion now, as we know there is a proposal in Parliament to change our murder provisions to increase the minimum term in which persons would spend in prison and to reduce the kind of discretionary parameters that judges would have to change those sentences for them to be lesser. We also have our new firearms legislation that came in November that contains prolific mandatory minimum sentences, 15-year minimum sentences. So when we look at those kinds of extended sentences that will certainly increase the prison population, we have to have a mind towards, one, where are we going to put all of these prisoners, considering our infrastructure issues that persist? And two, how are we going to rehabilitate these prisoners? And it is not JFJ's position that all prisoners should be rehabilitated. Of course, there must be some level of assessment, some level of consideration for the seriousness of the crime, as well as victim restitution. But we must consider these issues as we think about our infrastructure and resources here in Jamaica. So with that, I'm going to go into our right of the day today, which is coming up on the screen right now. Yes, so it is under the Property Rights of Spouses Act. So it is pertinent for this episode. Under the Property Rights of Spouses Act, a spouse is a person who has cohabited for 5 years or more as though they were legally married. So those persons have similar rights to those who have gone through the formal marriage process. And so upon the termination of that cohabitation, the family home would be treated in the same way that it is treated when persons are legally divorced. And we'll go straight into our trivia this week. As you know, our trivia yields a credit prize. So if you have the correct answer, you can send us a WhatsApp at 239-7583, or you can send us a message on our social media pages, JA4Justice. And the question is, when was the Property Rights of Spouses Act enacted? So when did it come into force? So as I said, you can send that response to our social media or to our WhatsApp, and whoever gets the answer correct first will receive $1,000 credit as their prize. So, gender-based violence continues to be a significant problem in Jamaica. A 2019 study published by the United Nations puts Jamaica second behind El Salvador as the two nations with the highest murder prevalence rate in matters related to intimate partner violence. There is a clear connection between divorce and gender-based violence, as it is one of the most significant ways in which a victim can leave an abusive relationship. It is also, from JFJ's perspective, an important conversation to have, as one of the main issues that we've identified in some of these violent relationships is that issue of financial abuse, and where that abuse happens, how can a person who was married to their abuser still be able to get some financial support? So while divorce can be a challenge for persons in violent relationships because of the cost and the availability of the service, many people still choose it as an option, while others choose a long-term separation. However, because of either ignorance of the options available or fear, they remain in the abusive relationship. So today we want to get an idea of what the divorce process is like, whether or not that changes for you if you are in an abusive relationship. How can you be protected if you are going through divorce proceedings with an abuser? and varying other questions about divorce. I'm sure our audience have some questions about divorce, so I do encourage you to call in with those questions at 676-4996 throughout the show. So, with us to have this discussion today is attorney at law Michelle Thomas, and she was so gracious to have joined me in studio today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Okay.
Excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you. I am hosting the show on my own. I'm not usually on my own. Michael Jackson is normally here with me. I think you're familiar with her.
Yes.
So, first of all, Michelle Thomas, you know about divorce. Why?
Because I do a lot of divorce. I would say that my practice includes divorce, and a lot of persons, predominantly females, come and inquire about divorces. And so I thought that this is an area of law that requires a lot of attention, and so it is something that I practice a lot.
Okay. All right. Well, we look forward to leaning on your expertise today. I think from our perspective, when we look at the context of divorce at JFJ, we're normally coming from a gender-based violence issue. So a client may approach us, their abuser is their husband, and they want to get a divorce. I know that comes with layers of complications. I don't know if you can break down some of those issues for me.
Predominantly, I think 90% of the persons who do come to my office to, have a divorce, their gender-based violence is one of the main reasons. Mm-hmm. But what in relation to the law asks for one simple ground, whether or not the marriage has irretrievably break down. Mm-hmm. And that ground that is relied on can come with various facets. So when you say irretrievably breakdown, is it physical abuse? Mm-hmm. And most of the abuse that I've, encountered when they do share their realities with me is that emotional abuse is a big factor. And a lot of us downplay that emotional abuse has a greater impact than physical abuse. Yes. And so they feel that the one partner takes advantage of them because the other partner makes more money. There is some affair outside of the marriage. And so because of that, they tend to fight physical attacks. Mm-hmm. Black and blue eye, they come with their receipt to show that, they have been down the rodeo where they had to report the incident to the police station. And even sometimes men, they are scarred in the marriage. I remember, specifically one individual who was saying that, his partner scarred him because she would attack him. And when he goes to the police station and report it, it's seen as a joke. Mm-hmm. Because even men, they don't feel as though if it is that their partner is abusive towards them, that they can get justice from the police officers, because it's always in the reverse. Mm-hmm. So the discussion has to be centered not just about men being abusive towards women, but women oftentimes abusive towards men, and women, it's so ironic that I'm a woman and speaking in this fashion, but sometimes a woman's mouth, how they talk to their partner, can be so, detrimental to their psychological, state of mind, because of how it is that the relationship takes a toll on them. So really and truly, gender-based violence do play a critical part in one of the reasons why they do break up. Mm-hmm. And so it is something that we have to look into deeply as a society as to how we encourage persons and how premarital counseling is important before people take these steps, because you never really know until you really get involved who your partner is. You never really ever know.
So I do want to come back and pick up on the thread. The part of the thread about men's experience, because, when we talk about gender-based violence, people often assume we're talking about women, but right. Gender is a neutral term. So we are talking about persons of all genders. So I do want to get back to that, but we're going to take the break. And when we come back, we'll pick up there.
Okay.
The people's champion. Our mission is love. Our vision is love. Jamaicans, for justice. The people's champion.
One love, one heart, one Jamaica. On the Bridge 99 FM.
I put it down on the wrong one. Hold up, wait a minute. Sex.
On the bridge?
Every Tuesday at 10 p.m.
We talk about the forbidden, then we tell the truth. Nothing is untouched. It's live with me, dancehall queen Carlene.
Download the Bridge app, be on the 99, and tune in this Tuesday after dark.
The conversation is intellectual and maybe tantric, but always entertaining as we hear from the expert and you.
SOD, this Tuesday at 10 p.m.
Chasing Purpose is a journey of self-love, self-development, healing, and spirituality. Our talk show aims to empower, inspire, and uplift through thought-provoking conversations. Guided by our 4 pillars: nurturing faith, setting intentions, pursuing aspirations, all while we are living boldly.
Every time I feel can't do no different. Swear me out for winning.
Won't you join us Wednesday, 10 a.m. to midday for Chasing Purpose, where we sow seeds others will benefit from.
The future of advertising to the diaspora and Caribbean markets resides only on the bridge. Get on now. 876-669-5000.
It's the ultimate event where reggae meets dance hall with Shaka Demas and Plies in concert featuring Leroy Sibbles, Tanya Stevens, Richie Spice, and Jamaica's original dance hall queen Carlene. Saturday, April 29, Plantation Cove, 7 p.m. Purchase tickets at Fontana Pharmacies, Genus Pharmacy, Portmore, Chaz Gas Station, St. Anne, Fesco, Beechwood, and Ochi, Plantation Smokehouse, Sharky's Seafood Restaurant, and Caribtix.com. Tickets are $12,000. Saturday, April 29, 7 p.m. Plantation Cove. Don't miss it.
Out of many, we are one Jamaica on the Bridge 99 FM.
The people's champion. Our mission is love. Our vision is
Welcome
love.
back to Let's Talk Justice. We are joined today by Michelle Thomas, attorney at law, and we're talking about all things divorce, maintenance, all of that. So before the break, Michelle and I were talking about the fact that men are also some of the victims coming to you to initiate a divorce due to their abuse. I wanted to ask, based on your experience, what kind of abuse are they normally having to explain? Is it emotional, physical, financial? What's the representation like?
Predominantly emotional. Predominantly because most of them often say that they feel as though the woman, undermine them in the relationship, especially when a woman is earning more than her significant other. Sometimes they tend to, it cause that imbalance. And so there is a power struggle. And then when bills are supposed to be, a portion between each party, one party end up shouldering more of the bills. And so it creates this instability that, affects the love and affection and connection. And so they just want out.
I see. Well, I think one of the barriers that we have spoken to, especially with victims of violence, is the cost. I know that there is legal aid for a criminal offense, for example. If you want to go through a divorce, can you go through legal aid?
No, I don't think so. Well, they were doing it at legal aid, but one of the things that persons complain about is because it's legal aid, it's government, the resources and the one person has to do it, and so the under-resourced, and so it takes pretty much of a long time. And so I have had experiences where persons come to switch from legal aid to have me do the matters because it takes too long in their opinion. So essentially, you can get legal aid, and it's something that comes at a cheaper cost, but the wait time might be a little bit lengthy, and so it depends on your personal circumstances that you will use to judge whether or not you're going to go to a private attorney or you will just go to legal aid and have that done.
Okay, I see. So if you were to go to legal aid, you can just go to any legal
the Kingston Legal Aid Clinic, I know. There is also a legal aid facility at the Norman Manley Law School. Persons do go there as well, and so they can get their divorce there.
Okay. So I heard you mention the wait time. What is an expected wait time for a divorce?
8 months to a year, because the divorce goes to 3 processes.
Okay.
After you file the petition and you get your date to serve the person, the respondent, you have to wait 14 days. When that wait time passes, then you apply for what is called a decree nisi. And you know that when that is approved, you have to wait 6 weeks after the decree nisi is approved for the decrees to become final, or what is called absolute.
Okay.
So based on those wait times, where when you file the petition and you serve it on the party who you're divorcing, you have to wait 14 days. Sometimes they respond.
Okay.
If it is that they respond to challenge the divorce, then you will have to respond again, and then the matter might be sent to case management for a hearing by a judge. If it is that the party does not respond after the 14 days, then you can move on to apply for a decree nisi. And that is where the bulk of the wait time is really at, because the court will have to look on if it is that there is a child, what are the circumstances in relation to the child, if the child, everything for the child is documented and accounted for, so that it satisfies the judge that this separation, divorce will not affect the best interest of the child. And so all of those factors will have to be considered in your paper application. So it's a paper process.
Okay, so in the best case scenario, as the person applying, you would not have to go to the court?
No, you don't have to.
Okay.
If it is that your spouse does not respond, then you proceed by default. So it's a paper application.
I keep hearing you say respond. What if the spouse that you are trying to divorce is not interested in divorcing you? Are you held hostage?
That is the thing. There's a lot of misunderstandings with this era. People feel like your spouse have to sign the paper. No. Once it is served, they don't have to sign anything. And you don't have to wait for them to do anything. You are the one who's divorcing. In Jamaica, all that is required is that you serve them the petition, you wait for 14 days. If it is that they don't respond, you proceed by default and you get your divorce. So it's not in the case of America where you have to sign an application. No. So that is, I want to clear that up, because a lot of persons, they're wondering, oh, my husband overseas and I don't know if he's going to sign. I'm like, no, you don't require a signature. You just need to serve him. He must just be put on notice that you are divorcing him, and that is all.
Okay, all right. So what about the scenario where you don't know where the person is? And I'll just give you an example, because working at JFJ, we work with victims of GBV. Would have had a person come in and say they want to divorce their spouse who would have been abusive to them, but the spouse was involved in some sort of legal issue and has disappeared, as in they would not be able to locate them with a specific address or anything like that. What steps could they take to initiate this divorce?
It's a pretty simple procedure. If it is with any claim, if you can't find the person, you apply for a substituted service. You either ask the court to serve someone who will, who would have some form of understanding or whereabouts of the person, or you, based on the last jurisdiction that you know the person to be, you can serve it in the newspaper of that jurisdiction. So you'd have to ask the court through an application for substituted service if it is that you may be permitted to serve the party by way of a newspaper in that country, because that is the country you know him, he or she know him to be in that location.
So in that instance now, when you do that service, you would await the 14 days after that
right,
service.
so you would do it 2 consecutive weeks. You would put it in the newspaper and you would wait the standard time. I think for the newspaper, it's more than 14 days.
Okay.
Based on my recollection.
Okay, so I heard you mention children now. And I kind of want to touch on that because a lot of these situations, children are represented in them.
Yes.
If there is an accusation of abuse, does that affect where the children are housed?
Yes, because that will call into question custody of the child. Because if a child is being abused, that will give one party, the ammunition to apply for sole custody of that child. And what is quintessential in the process is that the divorce application is hinged on whether or not there are pending court matters, whether there is, for example, a custody or maintenance application. You'd have to disclose that in your application for divorce. So any other issues that you want to distill with regards to property division, custody application, maintenance, all of that would have to be itemized in your application for divorce.
Okay. I hear you say property, and that brings another thing to mind now.
Yes.
So one of the things that we've seen a lot, the victim of abuse, I'm not going to gender them this time. The victim of abuse is a homemaker. So they are at home,
yes,
and they are not in a traditional employment situation. So they're kind of relying on the finances of the other person, of the spouse. The abuse situation arises.
Yes.
Will they be able to claim the half of the family home as well,
yes,
considering they're not working?
In the Property Rights of Spouses Act, it gives the other spouse the ability to apply or seek from the court a half interest in the family home. And what the court will look on is what is the contribution of the homemaker. Is it that she keep and care the property, help to maintain the property? Those are important facts that will assist them. So she doesn't have to put any financial contribution.
I see.
Once it is the family home, and you look on other factors, whether or not the marriage was of a long versus a short duration, what is the level of contribution that spouse would have given, which is, the non-financial contribution, what level of indirect contribution that person would have given, and they will be able to apply for half.
Okay, all right. I'm sure some of our
listeners. So the court starts at half, and based on your contribution, when they look at all the factors, they can go above or below accordingly.
Okay, so I had half, but I am the homemaker spouse, and I got an inheritance from my mother who died, and added improvements to the property. Does that could possibly increase my share?
Any gift would not be a part of it. So if you have gotten a gift, especially before the marriage, it can't be put into contemplation.
Okay.
What the court will look at is things acquired in the marriage, and also a family home. What is constituted as the family home is any place that the man and woman, husband and wife, is their habitual place of residence during the marriage.
Okay. All right. You're answering some good questions for me here. Okay, so I know that some persons, especially in the abuse situations, they try not to formalize the separation. So they kind of just stop living with the person. As an attorney, what do you think about that approach to leaving the relationship?
You can still live in the same house and get a divorce, What the court looks at is whether or not you are still consummating, whether or not you are living in theory as husband and wife. But you can be living in the said house, located in different rooms, and living individual lives, and still get a divorce.
So does the separation have to be a formal separation?
It doesn't have to be a formal separation. You can separate. No, you're living in a house, and you and your husband, you're not living as man and wife, you sleep in different beds, you cook your different food, you don't wash clothes together, you live in individual lives, and so that in and of itself is separation. So you can apply. It doesn't require for you to move out of your house and say, okay, I moved out, we're now separated. No, you can be in the house but living separate lives and still apply.
What about the situation where you are in the house, you're living separate lives, but I still need your financial support? How will that work out for me?
Yes.
But before you answer, I'm going to take the break and then we'll come back.
All right, then.
A win. Enjoy a KFC Hot Wings 5-piece combo or 25-piece party bucket today. KFC, it's finger licking good. The time by KFC is
1:31.
Yeah, this is Angie from Gardentown in the square, right at Miss Lou's statue. Come check out Kentucky Drinking Salon with the top shelf liquor them. See them like how you see the bridge, 99 FM to the world.
If you want to do a test, come to Jassel, we're the best. HIV and syphilis test. If you want to do a test, come to Jassel, we're the best. HIV and syphilis test.
To get tested today, contact Jamaica AIDS Support for Life at 876-925-0021.
A message from the Jamaica AIDS Support for Life with the kind support of USAID from the American people.
everybody at a new job call you Shane from accounts all week when your real name Sean from admin. But somebody just handed you delicious KFC hot wings that were dropped off for Shane from accounts. A wing is a win. Enjoy a KFC hot wings 5-piece combo or 25-piece party bucket today. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Don't wanna leave, don't wanna go. We'll stay tuned to Bridge 99 Jamaica. Don't wanna leave, we'll stay tuned. Bridge 99 Jamaica.
The people's champion. Our mission is love. Our vision is love. Jamaicans for justice. The people's champion. The people's champion. Our mission is love.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Justice. We're having a very interesting conversation about divorce, the process, and what certain implications mean. So we're joined by Michelle Thomas, and we were just about to go into what it means if you are still relying on the person's financial support. Can you claim separation at that time?
Yes, you can always claim separation. But you can apply for spousal maintenance during or after the divorce or during, because the law provides that through the Maintenance Act that if it is that you are unable to meet your financial needs, then you can apply from the other party for spousal maintenance.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions about that. Yes. So first things first, what kind of assessment do they do? So is it that, because for example, a lot of these financial relationships are informal, right? So there isn't like an allowance that's being given. It's just as the expenses come up, they're supported. So how would the court determine how much money you get?
All right, so you would, based on your application, you will be asking the court for spousal maintenance, but you request the amount. So the court will look on the factor as to what are your monthly expenses and whether or not, as is, you are unable, you enjoyed a particular lifestyle while you were in the marriage, and so because of this divorce, you are unable to meet your financial needs on a month-to-month basis, and so they will look on whether or not you're earning an income, if you're employed, what is your salary, what are your monthly expenses, and how much of it you can cover from your own.
Okay.
So they look on that. The court takes a look in depth.
So if I can't cover any, will the court compel me to be in a position to be able to afford some, or will they?
It's based on the factors. Every case is different, so it depends on what you are asking of the court. But the court is minded to look based on your application, and you itemize all of this in an affidavit. And based on that, the court will look on what is reasonable. Okay. Because remember, the other party that you are requesting a maintenance from, they have their monthly expenses too. And they have their financial burden. So the court will balance that to ensure that they are not putting the other party at a disadvantage because of your own needs.
I see.
So it's a balancing act.
So is it something that you can claim spousal maintenance and maintenance for a child at the same time?
It's different because the court will look on it differently. Maintenance for the child is, as you know, both parties are by law required to maintain their child 50-50. And so if it is that your child is, you need $50,000, let us say for argument's sake, to maintain your child per month. One spouse is supposed to give 25 and the other give 25. So if you're asking for 50, it means that you will be covering the 25. So really and truly, you're asking for 25 because the court is saying that what is the reasonable amount that you need to maintain this child, whatever that amount is, you must be putting half of that.
So what if I can't afford to put half?
That is the thing. The court will do a means test.
Okay.
To ascertain what you can afford.
Okay. I appreciate that clarity, because one of the things that we have heard as a concern, for example, from our clients, is that they don't want to go to the court because they don't think that they will get all of the support because they're unemployed. They're not in a traditional employment, and so they don't think that, one, they'll get custody, and two, that the court will award appropriate maintenance. So I first want to ask you, in your experience, what is the custody situation like for example, a mother who is unemployed but would have been a homemaker in her previous relationship? Well,
first of all, the court looks at a lot of factors, because if you are seeking custody, in what way is it that you're seeking sole custody, or is it that you're seeking joint custody? Now, if it is that you want joint custody, then it's different. However, if it is that you're seeking sole custody, the court will look on what would compel. What are the compelling factors that you are going to isolate an entire parent from having joint custody? Is it that that parent is abusive? Is it that that parent is harmful towards the child? So those are the extreme circumstances that the court will look on in denying one parent the right to have joint custody with the other parent.
So what does that joint custody normally look like in your experience?
Well, both parties would have different times that they can get with a child. Both parents would have equal say in the decision making of the child, because it's a joint custody. So when it comes to decision making, both parties will have a say. So custody means all the decision-making factors are supposed to be discussed between both parties.
I see.
Where it is sole, one person can just make the decision and they don't have to consult with the other.
I see. Okay. All right. So that is some good clarity for me right there. So can you get sole custody and still be able to get maintenance for the child and spousal maintenance?
Yes, you can get sole custody. You have to provide maintenance for the child, and you, in your capacity as a wife, well, now divorce, you can get spousal maintenance, because each situation is looked on differently. But it can weigh, because if you are getting spousal maintenance, it means that you have to consider that the maintenance will contribute to your maintenance of a child. So it kind of overlaps.
I see. All right, so we do have some questions coming in through our WhatsApp, so I'm going to pose one or two of those to you now. All right, so this person says, my boyfriend got married in Jamaica, but he's now living in Florida and seeking to get a divorce from his wife. Does he have to come back to Jamaica to file for divorce?
No, he doesn't.
Okay. So what would be his steps?
What would be his step is retain a lawyer in Jamaica. They prepare the documents, send it to him via FedEx or email. He signs the documents, send them back via FedEx, and they are able to file the documents in court. So he will have to use a notary public over there to witness the documents. That's all.
So
you can't stay anywhere in the world and do any transaction. It's modern times. You don't necessarily have to take a flight to Jamaica and actually sign the paperwork. No.
So is this even in the case? So if there is even property to be split?
Same thing.
Okay. Awesome.
And now the court has opened up its facility to do Zoom. So if it is that there's a hearing, it can be facilitated on the Zoom platform. You don't necessarily have to come in physically. I am glad we have made that transition to using the modern technology to having matters done, within an expeditious timing and to facilitate persons who are from various geographical locations.
Okay. So in your experience, is this something that you would have done before, where you would
All
have
the time.
gone through?
Most of the clients are overseas.
Okay.
I think too, when they're overseas, they want somebody that is reliable. So they do their own research and then they come and they ask to get the divorce, and then we facilitate the process, virtually.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So next question. I want to get a divorce, but I was told that we need to go to counseling. Is there a specific amount of time we have to go to counseling before we can get a divorce?
No, it's not necessarily that you have to get counseling. There is a part of the application that speaks to whether or not there were attempts made for counseling or attempts made to try to resolve the issues. And so a part of the process is documenting whether or not that was done. So it's not a necessary requirement to get a divorce that you have to have counseling. It's just a part of the application speaks to whether or not there was counseling or attempts made to resolve the issue.
So if you say no, there was no attempts made, that's it?
That's it.
Okay, so them not going to require nothing extra?
No.
Okay, great. I do want to add, I know that someone else had asked me, I did a public education session recently, and someone asked me if it is that the separation period, because I think it's a 1 year period or
yes,
something.
You have to be separated for 1 year, and you must be married for at least 2 years.
Is there any way to waive that separation period?
There are exceptions.
Okay, so like what?
So, you see, with exceptions, you'd have to come with something that is, really rare or really of substance to require use that exception.
Okay.
I've never ever done it, but to my mind, in a case where there's something that is of noteworthy to share that this is it, that you can't wait the entire year, then I think the registrar will look at it and make a determination with the necessary supporting affidavits.
So in your opinion, you think a serious and substantiated with reports and receipts kind of...
It can't be nothing just on the surface. It has to be something deep.
Okay. So like you would have mentioned, you have some clients that come in with their police report receipt, for example, to show that they made some kind of effort to address this abusive issue, or that it's documented somewhere else. Would that be one of the grounds, you think?
No. Something more, much more.
Oh, okay. That's surprising to me. So even in that abusive situation, you still need a 1 year separation period.
Right, 1 year.
In order to make the application. Okay, that's really good to know. So what if you are married for less than 2 years? What is the process for you at that point?
You have to be married for 2 years because it requires that you have to be separated for a year. So if you are married, 1 year pass, and then 1 year after you're married, then you have been separated, then it can work. But you have to at least be separated for a year.
Okay, so I'm married for 6 months, and I've been having this abusive situation for the 6 months that we are married. What is there any option for me, or do I have to just stay married until?
You have to stay married.
Oh wow. Okay, so what about an?
There's a wait period. You can't just, okay, I'm married 6 months and I want to divorce my husband. Okay, let's do this. No.
So when they say annulment can be done, what situation could you do that in?
Well, to be honest, I have never done an annulment.
Mm-hmm.
I can only speak to, the circumstances that I've been exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But in Jamaica, I definitely know that you have to be separated for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's a sour point for a lot of people, but there's an intention that they want to ensure that marriage, which is something that's sacred, that you don't just go in it and just leave out of it because you can't weather the storm for a couple months.
Okay.
So this must be something that you would have gone through 1 year of entire stress and drama that you just can't continue.
All right, so we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we have some more questions from our audience. Keep them coming, and we'll address them after the break.
The people's champion. Our mission is love. Our vision is love. Jamaicans for justice. The people's champion.
Hi, I'm Ronald Thwaites, and I'm the host of The Public Eye and The Open Mind on The Bridge 99 and Irie Jam in the tri-state area. This program will tell you the truth about life backyard. Fair, open talk. No gossip, no slander. We want to listen to your concerns. Also want to help you with your problems in JA. We at The Bridge rate you and affirm our oneness as citizens of this blessed land we love. So join us now on Wednesdays on The Bridge, crossing the waters, linking Jamaicans and Jamaican lovers everywhere.
Imagine your advertising dollar reaching your Caribbean and diaspora target beyond borders in a single rotation. It happens only on The Bridge. Call now to advertise 876-669-5000.
Harris International Events presents Regina Bell live in concert at Hope Gardens in Kingston, Saturday, May 6th. See performances by Marcia Griffiths, Glenn Washington, George Nooks, and the Public Alert Band. Get tickets online at firstinlineja.com. Cocktails at 6 to 7 p.m. Showtime 8 p.m. That's Regina Bell at Palm Drive in Hope Gardens, Saturday, May 6th. Call 876-426-8773.
You're now in tune to
The Bridge 99 FM
from Jamaica
to the world. Right.
The people's champion.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Justice. We're having an engaging conversation today about divorce and maintenance and all things related. So we are in the questions part of the show. We only have 10 minutes left. So keep in mind, if you want your question answered on air, you need to be calling in at the studio line 676-4996 or sending us a WhatsApp at 239-7583. All right, so we do have 2 more questions already lined up for you. All right, so one party is asking now, if one party to the marriage wishes to continue to reside in the home after separation, can the other party force them to leave?
No.
No. Why is that?
Because the family home belongs to both of them. So if one party decides to stay, then so be it. If it is, for example, the other party wants to sell or transfer its interest to the other, then that can be facilitated. But it's a joint property owned by both parties, and so nobody can compel the other party to leave.
What if it's only in my name and I want the other party to leave?
If it's only in your name and you want the other party to leave, then it depends. Is it the family home?
It's the family home.
Because whether or not your name is solely on it, the family home, as per the law, which is the PROSA, both parties would be entitled to 50-50. That's the starting point. So you can't just remove the other party just because your name is on the title, because the other party can lodge a caveat to say they have an interest in the property, and the other party can take the other spouse to court to say that, look, even though your name is on it solely, I have contributed, this is our family home, you obtained this property during the marriage and it is considered as a home to be shared by us as husband and wife, and so because your name is solely on it does not negate the fact that it's a family home and I have an interest in it. So it can't just be a case where you just put out the person because it's your name on title.
So I noticed that you said it is acquired in the course of the marriage. What if, for example, I acquired the home, myself and my brothers acquired the home, and I am the person residing in the home. I have married this person and we've spent our entire marriage in the home.
Then that's a totally different ballgame, because that person is not the sole owner. There are other party who has interest in the property,
right?
Which are the brothers, and so you'd have to look on whether or not it can really constitute as a family home, because there are other interests that are involved.
Okay, so that would be something that the court would
would
assess.
have to look at whether or not the person can claim from that person whatever interest they hold with the brothers.
I see. All right. So we do have another question from the listeners. This one is a bit messy. I want a divorce, but my husband has started filing for myself and my children. What should I do?
That will affect the filing. So she needs to talk to her husband and see, I would say if it is that she requires to go overseas and really wants to experience a new location, then she'll have to wither the storm. But because once she divorces, it will affect the filing. They can just decide to just forget about that filing.
More question. Yes, and so this would be the last question that we take unless we get a call. So this question says, my ex-husband, with whom I share children, has been married for 15 years to a U.S. citizen. He is now showing some interest in getting back together with me. If we were to remarry, can he file for me? We have been separated from 2015 and the divorce finalized in 2022.
You can always remarry, to the same person. Nothing precludes you from doing it. So if he remarries and wants to file for her, yes, you will have to explain to immigration why is it that you have divorced this lady and then want to remarry her. It would look suspicious because, there is a tendency that a lot of Jamaicans, they want to go overseas for opportunities. So they would have to prove that this time this rodeo is a very serious one, and that they're remarrying because they would have overcome their previous challenges. So she can always remarry, but it's just that they will have to explain to the immigration officer or in the interview, explain why it is that this remarrying, why is it?
Okay, thank you very much. I think we're hearing that we have a caller on the line. Oh no, we lost that person. All right, so we are about to finish the show. So before we go, Michelle Thomas, what is your final word for our viewers?
Well, because we're on the topic of divorce, I would say before anybody gets married, you do some premarital counseling, and you also ensure, you consult God in your decisions. You look deep before you take this journey, because not only when children becomes involved, it becomes dangerous also when you get assets. And so it scar a lot of people, it scar children, because when they see mommy and daddy break up, it does affect them at school, it does affect them, with the grades. And so when you have your little ones, they rely on you to navigate their path. And so it's very important that us as individuals, that when you take this journey, you don't take it lightly. You assess your partner, you watch everything, every little moves, everything. And when you see the red flags, don't believe that they disappear when you get married. The red flags are always there and they don't change. Don't feel like marrying the person will wait for them to change into a person that you want. No.
Just marry who you want from the
beginning. Just marry and marry based on what you see. And if it is that you're not comfortable and a little voice in your belly is saying, but you know those flaws, don't say to yourself, boy, when we get married, it's a change. No, doesn't change. Lies.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, I just want to give one final word. So if I want a divorce now, where can I find you?
Well, I have 2 branches, 80 East Street and one on the Boulevard Super Center, shop 26E. Okay. So if you're uptown, you can go Boulevard. If you're a downtown person, you can go 80 East Street.
So is it? So you work all over Jamaica?
Yes, I do.
All right.
I have a set location.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So we are in the last couple of minutes of the show. Thanks again to our faithful listeners who join us every week. I hope this was a very informative episode for you. And I would like you to feel free to send any additional questions that we may not have gotten to address on the show in our WhatsApp at 239-7583, and we will do our best to address those issues for you then. If you are having a divorce issue, you can reach out to our guest, Miss Michelle Thomas, who, as you could have told, gave us some invaluable advice today and was able to clarify some of the issues that we may not have been so clear on. So I know, for example, me and my producer are constantly at odds about the family home issue because he's always wondering, well, is it that if you are not a person who has paid any money on this property is in my name, what does that mean for me who would have spent my money? But we are hearing that you have an interest in that property if it is the family home. So if you have questions like that, you can call us at Jerry, you can reach out to Michelle Thomas. And that was Let's Talk Justice. Thank you again for joining us. I am Jade Williams, and I will be back in studio next week at the same time, 1 p.m. And we start Child's Month next week. So hopefully we'll have some great themed topics. I'm looking at my producer. Great themed topics for the month. He says yes. So join us next week for those child issues. And we look forward to your engagement. Okay, so we did have a winner for our trivia, and that person will be reached out to by our producer. I'm not seeing the name right now. I was looking. Oh, it's Kamala B. All right, so Kamala B, congratulations. Our producer will reach out to you for your credit. That was Let's Talk Justice. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
Our mission under the law, justice, Jamaica demand, right to life, right to liberty, justice, justice for all, justice under the law, justice, the people demand, right to life and security. Oh, what a touch, oh, what a job, oh, what a peace, how great this country could be, respecting your rights, respecting human rights. What a wonderful nation this could be. Out of many we are one in a Jamaica. Make it a better place for the boys and girls. Created equal by the Creator for equal rights and opportunities. No to unlawful detention and police brutalization. Class, gender, race or religion. We not tolerate discrimination. Justice, justice for all. Justice under the law. Justice, Jamaica demand. Right to life, right to liberty. Justice, justice for all. Justice under the law. Justice, the people demand. Right to life and security. Oh, what a touch, oh, what a job, oh, what a peace, how great this country could be, respecting your rights, respecting human rights. What a wonderful nation this could be. If you live downtown in a Tibari Garden, or if you live uptown a Cherry Garden, equal rights under the law. You hear? Equal rights under the law. My youth, remember the rights of the children. It's unlawful not to educate them. Don't ever do nothing to hurt them. Protect them from crime and violence.
We up, yeah. Free up, yeah.
Call
Welcoming all bridge builders to the Bridge 99 FM, your global partners for outside broadcasts, connecting you from Jamaica to the world.
Where will we go?
From Kingston to Portmore, downtown, Spanish Town, Canada, USA, and as far as Dubai, we keep you